Listen, it's with great pleasure. I really appreciate everybody taking time out their day to be here today. As many people are aware, September is Suicide Prevention Month all across the country. I know here at the Health Department, with the leadership of Dr. Wright, Dr. Harris, and Dr. Chester, we are working so hard to bring the number to 0 a month in Davidson County. I said every time in my leadership meeting, when we get the number to 0, I'm gonna take everybody to Ruth Chris. That is the goal. That is the goal, because why? Life is so important. It's so important. So we take it very seriously. We have some great speakers here today. We're gonna talk about what we're doing in the faith community. We're gonna have people here with lived experiences who have attempted to take their life, and we're gonna talk about somebody who lost a loved one to suicide. And we're just trying to bring awareness. Statistics tell us that maybe 5 or 6 people in this room have actually thought about it. I'm glad you didn't do it. Our mission here at the Health Department is that hope is available, and we want you to know that. And not only do we want you to know that, we want you to share it with everybody you know, because their life is too valuable. We have to preach love into people every day, every day. If you lived in a household where you were told that you would never amount to nothing, that I don't like you, that I wish you were never born, a part of you actually believes that. But if you were told that I love you, we're gonna walk this battle together, you're the best thing that ever happened to me, a part of you believes that too. So what do we have to do? We have to preach love and hope to everybody every day. What happens is it becomes a habit. After a habit, it becomes a lifestyle, something you do every day. We're gonna share a quick video, and then I'll come back, and then I'll introduce the MC.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I got a piece of chicken for you later on, Tony.
I want to tell you this, that I too felt that pain. I too felt that suicide. I too felt that mental depression. I once stood in a place with a gun to my head saying, I do not want to live anymore. My mother's gone. My father's nowhere to be found. Why should I live? But I whispered from God. And when God spoke was, he said, Will, don't do it. Your life is just getting started. When I heard this whisper, the clouds broke apart and the sun started to rise. As I started to cry, the sun started to drop my tears. It was almost as if God was saying, it's okay, my son. When I realized this very thing, that God did not punish me. He simply let a child that wasn't able to be a child live again. So when you see me, anywhere you see me, I'm doing this for something bigger than myself. I'm doing this for you. And for every child, woman, or man that lost somebody, I want you to look in the mirror today. I want you to say their names, and I want you to repeat after me. Live through me. I need you to make sure that the world remembers the name. make sure you represent them well. And I need to make sure you understand this. Life is long. Life is hard. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Live.
We lose 3 people a day to suicide. We lost 3 yesterday. We lost 3 Monday. We'll lose 3 today. We'll lose 3 next week. I'll get a call here at the health department saying a young 16-year-old Hispanic took her life. I have friends who lost a loved one. We just cannot pretend like it's not happening any longer. Every day in America, we lose 135 people to suicide. Every day. Hope is available. I guarantee you, probably today, somebody is here struggling with something. If you look back over your life, we've all had difficulties that we thought we couldn't make it through. Whatever the reason, God brought us through. You can't name one thing that God hasn't brought you through. Not one. If you do, I want to hear it. So when you encounter a problem, you just lean back on what you made it through before, and it's the same God. He's going to bring you through again. He's undefeated. So I encourage everybody today. Number 1, spread the word. Hope is available. Number 2, whatever you're going through, you're going to make it through. You're only as strong as your support system. Get like-minded people around you. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend who never invited me to Talk of the Town, but I'm assuming it's coming down the road. She was our MC last year. She has numerous awards as an anchor woman, as a producer. She is just a brilliant person, and when I reached out to her again this year, she felt so honored to be asked, and we're honored to have you. And I just want to say personally, I love your emails because your grammar is, I guess you learned that in journalism school. Everything is always on point. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Wanda Coleman.
Thank you for that warm applause. It is a beautiful day to be surrounded by beautiful people in this room. And as Sheldon said, I was honored that you all would want me back for the second year. I left last year feeling so inspired and uplifted by the remarks, and I learned so much. You know, you think working in the media, we would know more about these types of things, but these are the types of stories that we don't cover. And you may notice that you won't hear us if there is a suicide. We do not cover those stories. So that's something that I don't hear often. And so when I came here last year, I learned a lot. But it is a beautiful morning, and we're going to be listening to some dynamic speakers today. And to kick things off is someone that I enjoy seeing no matter where I go. She's a lovely person, a beautiful spirit, Deputy Mayor Brenda Haywood.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Walker. You've got the right last name, because when I think about you, I think about how you walk the talk. So by your last name being Walker, I think it's a God thing. But I'm just so delighted to be here with you today. I'm a retired teacher and I'm a minister. And so when I think about suicide, I think about the 3 students that I once taught that actually took their lives. And that was just, it grieved me that happened. I want you to know that we're all leaders and we have to lead with love. And I want you to know that God is a God of love. And when I leave the mayor's office, and I'll serve there in some capacity after the new election, but I want to have a youth crusade for Christ. That's what I want to have, because I think the young people today, people of all ages, they are seeking something. And whatever that is that they seek, they're not fulfilled. Some it's drugs, or some we go shopping, or whatever the point may be. But God is a God of love. And until we can show them a better way, then the same thing is going to continue to happen. And when you think about losing three people a day, that is so unheard of when you think about God's kingdom. God wants us to love on each other. He wants us to live with love. And when I think about Shelton and all the things that Shelton is doing down here, and all the people that have rallied around him in this vital work, it's just encouraging. So I just invite you to just lead with love, to pour into people that are empty, and just do it God's way. And once they experience Christ, that's really all we need. So I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy to see so many people, and I'm happy to know, it's inspiring and very impactful to know that you are the answer to the problem. So just lead with love and lead people to Christ, and everything will certainly be all right. Thank you for inviting me here, and I'm just inspired by everyone and their beautiful faces and all that they are offering our community.
Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. We know wherever you go, when your office is up, you're going to do good. And I hope that we'll see you in the community out there again, because you've done a lot of things for the city that right now we would love to thank you for. We appreciate you. So we're going to move along to next, the Chief Medical Director of the Metropolitan Health Department, Dr. Gil Wright.
Good morning. I want to thank everybody that is here today. I appreciate all of your interest in this very important public health issue. And I really want to thank you for all of the support you provide to our community. Thank you also for your efforts to help increase suicide survival and to reduce the attempts at suicide, as one life lost is too many. Each of you is a hero, as a frontline worker, and everything that you do every day. I look forward to today's presentations as we work together to address this public health issue. And again, welcome, and thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. You know, News Channel 5 has been touched by suicide. We've had 2 employees who've taken their lives. It was the first time I'd ever actually had my own personal experience when one of our folks took his own life. And you just never know what people are going through, and you never want to have regrets. So you always want to check on those friends, as they say, that seem like they're doing good, and that they're all, that everything is all well with the world. He always seemed so upbeat and happy. So check on your friends who seem like they're doing well. Next up, we want to have the Bureau Director of Metropolitan Health, Dr. Fonda Harris.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. To our esteemed guests and our wonderful staff here at Metro Public Health Department, and to those of us who have been touched by suicide. I stand to remind you that hope is still available. As we observe Suicide Prevention Month, we must honor those we have lost to suicide, and we must rededicate ourselves to actively and collectively commit to being our brothers and sisters' keeper. What does that look like? It looks like watching out for one another. It looks like taking care of each other. It looks like the ministry of presence, just sitting beside someone who is experiencing life's challenges without ever saying a word. It takes all of us working together, but it begins with a personal commitment in our homes, on our jobs, in our places of worship, with our family and friends, and with a total stranger, to support each other and to be there for one another without judgment. The semicolon. The semicolon is used as the national symbol for suicide. The semicolon, when used in a sentence, allows the writer to continue on with a sentence or with a thought. The author could have made the choice to end the sentence, but instead chooses not to. The semicolon indicates that there is more to say, that the thought isn't over. And so it is with our lives. The semicolon says that the past does not tell our full story, and that there is always a future story yet to be told. We can choose not to end our lives, but continue living with the reminders that help is always available and that we are not alone. Suicide can touch any of us, regardless of our age, our gender, or our race, and it leaves a lasting mark on families and communities. Therefore, we must strive daily to build safe and supportive environments and eliminate the stigma that often prevents people from seeking the care that they so desperately need. No one should feel alone when they're facing life's challenges. You be the one who brings hope to others and make the difference in someone's life. Make the words real to that song written by Alma and Drozo. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody he is traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian ought, if I can bring back beauty to a world upwrought, if I can spread love's message that the Master taught, then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. My living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harris, for those very powerful words. We really do have to normalize and take the stigma away from seeking help. So many of us know people who just don't think that they could ever be able to seek help, even when they're depressed or feeling pain. They just really don't want to go to a doctor. So we really need to figure out a way to sort of normalize and take the stigma away from seeking help. The next guest has a very interesting name that I hope I don't botch. It's Dr. Annie Melville Chester, and she's the Director of Behavioral Health and Wellness here at the Metropolitan Health Department.
That was good. You gave it a good college try. So it's Anidali is my first name. Thank you. But I just go by Dr. Ann. First of all, let me just say welcome to all of you for being here today. On behalf of, first, I have to give some credit to my team. First and foremost, Sheldon, Kylan. Would you just stand for me as I call your name? Sheldon, Kylan, Alexis, John, Michelle, Alex in the back. You know, it is just awesome to have a team that works with you in a division when you're new and you have the task of being the leader. But not just the team, we had some planners. And I'm wondering if Kiana, Deetra, and Danielle may just pop their heads in the door and wave their hand for a little bit. You met them as you were coming in. They were gracious to help you sign in, give you your program. There you go. There's Danielle. We just appreciate, an event like this just doesn't take one person to pull together. It takes a team, a great team. It takes a team member that's, a little neuros. We just really appreciate Alex as she tried to walk us through how this needs to look in a way that makes sense, and we're all looking at her like, But the outcome is absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys for doing the heavy lifting. We appreciate it. So there's Deetra, there is Kiana. Just wave your hands. Thank you so much for your hard work. As we talk about the topic of suicide, I just want us all to know that it is personal for all of us in different ways. If you haven't had someone who's passed away from suicide, you have somebody who you know, or you know somebody who knows somebody. It has touched your life in an impactful way. In the month of June, a dear friend of mine called me to let me know that her husband had made the decision, or maybe he didn't, I'm not going to be a judge of what happened there, to, on their daughter's birthday, go behind their home and kill himself behind their house on their daughter's birthday. The question I always ask myself is, what makes a person get to the point that they believe that dying is better than living? That their life is so much better off gone than if they stay in this place. A lot of things take us there. A lot of things takes individual there. And for each of us that sit here, whether we're in church, whether we're in Metro Public Health, whether we're in our homes, whether we're on the television, we have a role to play in making hope available to someone. So if you know someone that's going through it, and here's how you can tell that someone is going through it. All of a sudden, they're giving you their prized possession. All of a sudden, they're calling you to let you know, I love you, 3-4 times during the day. You're unsure where that's coming from. All of a sudden, they're talking to you about, we really had a nice time together, or they don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to leave home. Nothing seems pleasurable anymore. Life is just gloomy. And we tend, when we see that, to say, girl, you're going to be okay, or you're going to be okay. All you have to do is pray. I want you to know I'm an ordained elder at my church. Prayer leads us to solution. And so when we're praying, we need to reach out to a clinician. We need to point someone to a clinician to get some help. Sometimes the pastor doesn't have the answer, the elder doesn't have the answer, but in your church, you have a social worker, a case manager, a clinician, somebody who can help you find the answer. Might I suggest that our role in the spiritual environment is connect hurting individuals to resources so they can keep living. And so we need to connect people to resources so they can keep living. COVID didn't help us. COVID isolated us, and the suicide rate went up astronomically. Individuals are now they are committed to social isolation. They do not want to go out to re-engage with the community because being alone seems more preferable than talking to me. And so each one has to reach one. So if you have a friend that used to sit with you in the pew at church and you're sitting there and you notice nobody is there, it's time to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Hey, I miss you today. You weren't in church. If you have somebody that was next to you at work and they're not coming, it's time to say, hey, what's going on with you? Each one has to reach one so that we can change the culture. We can change the face. We can let individual know that it's okay to ask for help. It is okay. It has not been okay to ask for help. And so people won't ask for help. The other thing is that each of us need to become a confidant. So when someone comes to you with trouble, you don't go tell their trouble. but that they know their trouble is safe with you and you'll connect them to resources so it will make them want to talk about their trouble. And that's the difficulty. Individuals don't come to us because they're afraid that they say in my world that their business is going to be on Front Street. And so they don't talk to us because we have not created a safe environment. So today, I'm hoping that each of us in this room will become a safe environment for someone that's having some difficulties. Here at Metro Public Health Department, we're moving in a new direction for us. We're on the road to being greater than the greatness that we've already exhibited in the past. We're building out and expanding counseling services here at Metro Public Health. So very, very soon, you'll be able to refer individuals to Metro Public Health for counseling. You can say, hey, listen, go see these resources. They won't have to worry about paying, whether they can pay, can't pay, or should pay. They'll be able to come here and access a clinician and get service to the community. And I would say, thanks to my leadership for the foresight and the thought of allowing me as a clinician to come in and say, hey, this is a direction we need to move in, and supporting that and getting behind that and champion that. And so soon the community will be able to access our services. And so we want to share that with you so you can take that back. You can say, I know a place that you can go. We're also going to wrap some transportation around that. So if individual comes, they can't pay, we're going to ensure that they can get here and they can get back home. So there's no barrier to accessing service here at Metro. So I want to leave that with you. We're doing our part. We're hoping you'll send us the referrals. We're hoping that you'll be our champions in the community to say, give them a try, give them an opportunity to serve. Hope is available here, and I'm hoping that hope will be available with each of you. Thank you for your time.
Wow, thank you so much, Doctor, for those uplifting words that we got a chance to hear the great news about the services that you all will soon be offering. That is going to be wonderful. Thank you so much. Sheldon, you set me up. I thought you said her name on here was Andalee, but I understand you guys call her Ann. Dr. Ann. Dr. Ann, I'm so sorry I butchered your name. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to go now next to the Program Manager of Behavioral Health and Wellness here at the Metropolitan Public Health Department, Michelle Foster.
Good morning, everyone. I am more than excited to stand before you and to welcome you to this event today. We want to make sure that we are getting information out to the community, not only about the services that we offer, but also to let you know about the passion and the drive and our direction. As far as suicide prevention awareness, we are on that not only during the month of September, with this being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, we do it all year long. I have the honor to work with Sheldon. Okay, so I'm saying this in front of you all, but it doesn't go outside of this room, right? Sheldon and I have that older sibling, younger, pesky, worrisome brother type relationship. But I have to say that our passion is the same, our mission is the same, and our vision, and that is to, in the community, we want to encourage and empower individuals. We want to let them know that they're worth being here with us. And so we're out here doing the training. We're out here encouraging, listening. We're doing that that Dr. Ann talked about, where when individuals come to us, we are a safe space for them, and we'll continue to be that. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and I am sure that you will enjoy the rest of our speakers this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate that. Of course, so much of what's spoken of this morning has a lot to do with just a lot of faith and having faith. And our next speaker is someone who knows this all too well and preaches it, Reverend Dr. John Faison, who is the senior pastor at Watson Grove Baptist Church.
Good morning to each and every one of you. Grateful for the opportunity to be able to share today. I want to especially give appreciation to Brother Sheldon Walker, who is a partner at our church, but part of this amazing team that continues to make a difference, even in the lives of people you probably will never meet. You never know the kind of impact that you are making when you drop the seeds on good soil. You've saved lives of people you've never encountered. You have encouraged and strengthened people in ways that you could never even imagine. You have impacted families and communities and neighborhoods and schools and churches. And I know nobody comes back to say thank you. Very rarely do you get the shout out and the love that you deserve. But from a representative of the faith community, let me say to you, thank you. Your work matters. What you do makes a difference. Hebrews 13:2 says, be careful how you treat strangers. Because some have entertained angels unaware. You are angels unaware. You've impacted lives in ways that cannot be measured. And so let me say, if no one else will say, thank you. My role today is to really talk about how this issue touches, impacts, and affects the faith community, but particularly my tradition, steeped in the Black church tradition. Mental health, of course, in the Black church is something that's always been there, but not always talked about. The Black church historically in the United States has been the center of the African American community for many years, especially when the Black church was created and started. The pastor was usually the most educated person in the African American community. That's not the case now. The pew is far more educated than the pulpit. But at that time, that was the case. And even if that was not the case educationally, in terms of influence, usually the Black pastor had connections and tentacles in the community. This is why African Americans trust the Black church space. So if there is a legal problem, they don't call a lawyer, they go see their pastor. And then their pastor connects them to a lawyer they trust. If there's a finance problem, they don't call a bank, they go see their pastor. And then the pastor connects them to persons with financial services that they trust that can assist them. This is true for a lot of conditions and a lot of issues that happen in the Black community. Mental health and suicide are no different. The challenge has been is that when persons bring these conditions to the faith community, and this is not just true in the Black church, it's true in many churches, we have a tendency to spiritualize or over-spiritualize conditions that actually need medical assistance. And as a result, we try to pray away thoughts and feelings, which can become dangerous. Prayer is where we start, but it's not where we stay. We begin with prayer, but we then move to services and access to help. And sometimes our community has not been as equipped or as willing to do that. Thank God for progress, and thank God for access to services, and thank God for awareness, and even having those folks in our churches. Thank God for pastors who realize we don't have all the answers. That can then share that acumen, share that information from people with acumen and resources that are really a part of our congregations already. They just need to be tapped into. I would encourage any faith community, if you don't have a pathway to this office, build one, create one. You have the opportunity to save lives. At our church, Watson Grove, we are a growing church for growing people whom Christ will use in growing his kingdom. That's our vision. That is our direction. And we believe in that growing is a part of being connected to God, that we ought to get better as a result of our connection to God. And not just growing in our faith and in our spiritual matters, but growing comprehensively. We ought to be growing in our mental health. We ought to be growing in our awareness of who we are. And so one of the things that we do at our church is I believe that leaders go first. A commitment to self-care is something I have to model in order for the church to often see its importance and its value. And so this pastor goes to therapy once a month. Praise the Lord. This pastor believes in it, talks about it, shares it, and absolutely supports and affirms the necessity of self-care and mental health. I pastor people, y'all. I need to talk to somebody every once in a while. And so I think it's about creating a culture of conversations. When it's okay to talk about it, it's often okay to act in response to it. Some initiatives that we've been able to do with some of the folks in this room. Reverend Marguerite Smithson is our church administrator and one of the trailblazers in terms of the Black church community in Nashville, addressing the area of suicide and stigma. Deacon Gwen Hamer is part of our team as well, and they are amazing resources along with Brother Sheldon Walker to make sure that we're talking about these things. This year, we started a therapy fund for those who were interested in attending therapy for the first time. We would cover their first 2 sessions if they would sign up. And we had people to give to this fund, and this fund is still operating, helping those folks who are interested in beginning that process to kind of take away, as I think it was Dr. Ann shared, some of the barriers, some of the things that get in the way. We also believe, again, in making assistance available. Deacon Hamer and Reverend Smithson are amazing at making sure that we've got resources and numbers and pamphlets and stickers, and we do things in September and all kinds of things. We have amazing folks who make these amazing resources available, and we're grateful for that. Stigma, as you know, is one of the reasons it's often not talked about and the subject is not broached. But stigma stifles the opportunity to be honest. And when we cannot be honest about our hurts, we hide them. And whatever is hidden cannot be healed. If we cannot be transparent and open and honest about where we sit and where we are, then we cannot recover from those concerns and conditions. And we end up dying in the dark. One of the things that I believe the faith community is responsible to do is to shine some light and give people permission to feel what they feel and permission to talk about it, give them a safe space to share it, and then create opportunities and pathways for recovery. I'll end my comments with a story. There was a young lady named Blair. Blair was an incredibly articulate, incredibly brilliant, and beautiful young student at Vanderbilt. If you know our church, our Nashville campus is 3 blocks from Vanderbilt and 1 block from Belmont. So we have a lot of Vanderbilt students that come to our church, and this young lady, Blair, was one of them. Gifted, smart, always available, always came to worship, and was just a blessing to our church. I never really got a chance to meet her in person. But I remember her parents coming to church to one of our 8 o'clock services, pre-pandemic, 8 o'clock service. And I met her parents. And when I met them after service, her father collapsed in my arms. He collapsed in my arms, and I didn't know what was happening, what was going on. And then his wife began to share Blair had attempted suicide the night before. She was in Vanderbilt. She had taken pills, and she was in a induced coma, now trying to recover. Her roommate found her, and her parents were called, and they flew in overnight, and they had spent all night in the hospital. Then they came to church just for some encouragement and to share. Eventually, her parents had to return back to D.C. She was there with us and myself and some members of our community, and our Minister of Congregational Care, Reverend Della Bacote, ended up visiting her on a regular basis. I am proud to report she has recovered. Proud to report she's doing well. She's graduated from Vanderbilt. She is doing amazing things. We may not be able to stop every attempt, but if there is an attempt that occurs, I think it's incumbent upon our faith communities to wrap our arms around these families as they walk through. And whatever the Lord's will is, that family needs to know they're not alone, they're loved, they're supported. Listen, I hate to be rude, but I have to leave after this to go catch a flight. But I'm praying for you, praying for this effort, grateful for the opportunity to be a part. And if we can do anything, let us know.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Faison Senior. That was a very, very powerful speech you just gave there. Wow. Next up, we have Paul Osteniak. He is the board chair of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks very much for being here. And I just love being here and listening to the speakers we have, the people, and really the message for hope. And hope is available, and we talk about it often at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about what we do and who we are. We are a nationwide organization. We have chapters in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. And our mission, quite simply, is to save lives and to give hope to those who have been affected by suicide. My family has been affected by suicide. We lost my wife, Alice, in 2016. And I will tell you that when we went to, and when I started volunteering with AFSP, it really, the seminal point of my volunteering was at our walk. And, I sit in my garage and I thought, well, I'm gonna go out to this thing, there's gonna be 50 people and I don't know what I'm gonna think. It took me a while to get out of the garage. And when I got there, there was over 800 people at that Nashville walk that year. And I looked around and I said, I'm not alone. There's people around, there's a community that is here to support me, people I don't even know. People just there that care, people that may be hurting, people there that may be struggling themselves. But they all showed up. And like today, you are all showing up for one another. So let me give you the four pillars that support our work. Firstly, we are the largest private research organization in the United States for suicide research. We are a grantor. The largest public and the largest research organization is the U.S. government. Second, we advocate. We advocate for policies that are smart about mental health. We advocate here in Nashville at our State House, and we have folks that advocate in DC as well. So we want to make certain, we know our legislators have a lot on their plates. We want to make certain that we are their subject matter experts when it comes to suicide and when it comes to suicide healing. Third, we educate. As a board member and as the chair of the board, I can tell you that it is our goal and mission as a board to educate everybody we can for mental health and suicide. We'll educate anyone, anywhere, anytime, whether it's your faith community, whether it's your civic organization, whether it's your place of work. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to probably scoot out here a little bit earlier than I'd like because we're going to educate somebody at their place of work for a lunch and learn. So that's very, very important to us. We feel like if we do the education part right, it's a big job. If we can do the education part right, we can take a chunk out of this thing. And then finally, loss and healing. That walk that I talked about, that settles into our loss and healing program. One of the other things that we do is a program called Healing Conversations, where it's a peer-to-peer organization where we match up folks that have lost someone to suicide with someone who's had a similar loss. In our group, I am also the coordinator here for Healing Conversations. In our group, we have people that have lost spouses, partners, grandparents, relatives, grandsons, grandchildren, children, brothers and sisters. Each one of those groups, each one of those folks I talked about, we have someone who will talk with you about how to start your healing journey. It was really important for me to be able to talk with someone and have them listen to my story because they had walked those shoes before I had. And then part of our loss and healing program also incorporates our Survivor Day. Every day, the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving, we gather as survivors and talk about and get information and learn more about survivorship. And AFSP puts that on. And I'm very, very happy to report that this year we'll have not only Survivor Day here in the Nashville area in Franklin, we'll also have one in Memphis. We'll also have one in Knoxville. So Survivor Day throughout the state. We know it's an issue. We know it's a problem. It's the 9th leading cause of death here in Tennessee, and our youth are affected tremendously by suicide. I thank each and every one of you for doing what you do, for showing up, for being who you are. I look around and I see all these organizations that just do the work. And that's it. We just show up and we do the work. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for everything you do.
Paul, thank you for sharing your story and for the work that you're doing. We really do appreciate it. And I'm moving along because you all are not here to hear me. You're here to hear the speaker, so we're just moving right along. Up next is Mary Lyndon Salter, and she's the Executive Director of the Tennessee Association of Alcohol, Drug, and Other Addictions. Mary?
Okay, I am Mary Lyndon Salter, and I am the director of TADIS, and you're asking why as an executive director of an addiction organization up here. That's because we also are the funded entity for the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network, and I'm really here representing them. I am the acting executive director of that program right now, and I'm happy to say we have a new executive director that I'll be introducing shortly. But there is, yes, thank you. Believe me, it's a welcome addition. But it's no accident that September is not only Suicide Prevention Month, but it's actually also National Recovery Month. These two issues are linked. We don't always know when someone's overdose is a death intentionally or not. But one of the things that we do at TADIS is help kind of link together some of those concepts and programs and make sure that we're responsive to a myriad of needs around all of those mental health, addiction, and suicide prevention kinds of programs. One of the stats that I have a feeling Clark is going to talk about is the fact, the trends around suicide. But I want to underscore one in particular. Right now, in the state of Tennessee, for the people aged 10 through 34, suicide death is the second leading cause of death. Now, we don't track stats right now for anybody less than 10 years old. But I can tell you that just since January, since I have been in this position, I'm aware of at least 3 occasions where we were asked to help provide outreach where deaths occurred of 8-year-olds in our state. So somebody's going to have to revise some of these statistical categories because it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem for our youth. As others have pointed out, COVID stress, life stress, a lot of things have really impacted the health and mental health of our entire population, but particularly our youth, who really need to have the resiliencies that they acquire as they're young to be reinforced, to be things that we all look out for as we take them to school, as we have them in church, as we have them in aftercare programs, as we, check them out at the grocery store. Whatever your role is in your community, there are things that you can do to help make sure that our youth have the support and the love and the nurturing that they need. I think COVID stress has impacted us in ways that we will never know. But at the same time, it's something that we can see. We can't always quantify it, but we know it when we see it. Just last month, there was a death of a school resource officer by suicide. Please know how much this affects an entire community when the children at an elementary school have to be told that their school resource officer, their friend, is no longer going to be there, to greet them as they come into that building. This is impactful in ways that you cannot imagine. I would love to tell you a little bit more about our programs. I want to leave you with a sense of hope. Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network is a statewide network. We have people certainly in Middle Tennessee, but a lot of the things we do is outreach to schools and various community programs. We help schools write plans about what to do if there's a suicide death of somebody in your community. We help schools with prevention programs and building those resiliencies, you know, in our youth and our teachers. Teachers need to know how to respond to these things. So we know that we have those programs. We have trainings. One that we provide for free to anybody in the state of Tennessee is called Question, Persuade, Refer, QPR. It tells you how to respond to people who might be in crisis and how to get them help. We want to be that linkage, and that's one of many kinds of trainings that we provide at TSPN. We also provide trainings for clinicians. There's a training called Assist. There's several others that we want to make sure that clinicians are fully trained and can be responsive to people in crisis like this. Most of all, I want to underscore some of the issues around resiliency, though. I actually should have talked more about the program. Sorry, I'm distracting myself. Besides training and other things, we have a program called the Zero Suicide Initiative. And it helps schools, businesses, mental health centers, hospitals, any entity, basically come up with programs and ways to be flexible in your work environment to make sure that people have the support they need should they be in crisis as well. So we have those kinds of trainings and supports, and we can help you and your business entity, your Kiwanis Club, your whoever, you know, to be more responsive to people in need. That said, I witnessed a conversation the other day of somebody who was lamenting the, I think he called them Gen Xers. I'm not sure that was accurate, but you know, a younger person coming to them for a job, who talking about the need to be flexible, you know, to have their quality of life be a part of the discussion of their employment. And this person was shaking their head and saying, oh, these kids are so soft. They don't understand what it takes to work in the world. They just don't understand, you know, responsibility. And I had to pause and kind of help reframe this for them. There are kids out there who really understand what it means, you know, to be supported. And we need to figure out ways to be more supportive of those kinds of discussions. There are ways that your work environment can be more flexible that you've probably never thought about. And if that Zero Suicide Initiative or anything else that we provide can help you have those conversations in your workplace so that, I forget who it was, somebody talked about a colleague of theirs who had just died by suicide. Those things can be prevented, and and we can get people the help that they need. So one of the things I wanted to talk about too was, as everybody has talked today, know that these programs are not in silos. We all work together. I work with Paul, I work with Nichelle, I work with Robin, I work with all the people in this room. And it may sound like we all have these very separate programs, but we get on phone calls, we connect, we make sure that we, if there's an event like this, we might be here tabling, but we do it for everybody. Everybody's materials are here because we work together. And we're very proud of that. And we hope that we can kind of show people how to work together in the community to make those things happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Wow, those were some sobering statistics. I think you said 10 to 32? 10 to 34. To 34 is the age range we're looking at. It's so sad, and 8-year-olds even. Hope is available. Next, we have Dr. Keith Ekator. He is the Suicide Prevention Case Manager for the VA.
Hello and good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. I just want to give a little bit of my background of who I am, just to speak to my expertise and why I'm here. I am a social worker by trade, but I also hold many other hats. I am an adjunct professor at Tennessee State University and also University of Tennessee. I also am a member of the Tennessee Coalition of Black Social Workers. And also, I am currently the president-elect for the National Association of Social Workers, Tennessee. So I give a lot of that background, so I'm going to tie a lot of this to my points, because some of my points are I'm going to talk about what can you do, and also what I do in my current role. Because with all the many hats I have, those hats are just me serving in my purpose. Yeah, I'm paid pretty well to do social work, but at the same time, I'm doing stuff that I love and being able to help people, because I am a Nashville native, and I've seen how much the community has changed and how much the community needs more people to look like me in the field to help people. So what do I do with the Department of Veteran Affairs? So I work with veterans, and I'm gonna start by giving a little story because it's just unique how things come full circle in your life. Because I have a 7-year-old, and we frequently give him dollars and money to pass out because he loves giving out money. My wife is a social worker as well, and I try not to keep money on me, and we just give him $5 each week to pass out. But it's just so surreal that he passes out money, and one day he passed out money to one of my veterans. One of my veterans, well, several of my veterans are homeless. And just even riding here this morning, I probably passed several of my veterans out there, panhandling and asking for support. These people sacrifice their lives, blood, sweat, and tears to save this country and give you all the opportunity to do what you want to do in this world. But then we turn around and we say, we thank you for your service, and that's it. A lot of these people are homeless. We have people that lost their homes because they've been bamboozled out of their homes, and we popped up 2 condos on their lot, and they don't have anywhere to go. So what we do is Veteran Affairs. We provide them with services such as case management, mental health counseling, and we just throw the whole house at them, because if you come across our desk as a high-risk veteran, we're going to do what we can to support this person. Meaning, so if you have a high-risk flag, usually you've had some instances with substance abuse, or you've reported to someone that you want to kill yourself. And we ask every single veteran each year through a screener, through the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale, to ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? So it's very important that we ask these questions, because so many people suffer with things that we don't want to talk about. One other thing I didn't tell you that I do is I also do mental health panels about Black men's mental health, because apparently Black men don't like talking about their mental health. Not just Black men, but men in general. So I try to take this approach because I'm going to come full circle and supporting our community and helping to make things better for the world. So what can you do to help this issue? Be okay with pointing people in the right direction. Listen to what people have going on. There's so many different things we have going on in this world, and you never know what someone's going through just by looking at them. So also be okay with asking them, are you thinking about killing yourself? Because in doing that, you open up that door to have the opportunity to talk with them. You ask them that, it's not going to put the idea in their head. So it's important to remember that, guys. And, one thing I've learned in working with people of color is, we don't like to talk about stuff outside the home. And we need to change that narrative. We need to open the door to talking to our kids and getting them to open up about who they are and accepting them for who they are and loving on them. And the last point, remind people that they matter. And also love yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, you all. So if you got stuff going on in your lives, take care of it. And I'm sorry, I got one more point. If you know someone that is suffering from mental health crisis, they can call 988 to get mental health support. And for veterans specifically, you press 1 on that call, and it will transfer you to somebody within my department in the mental health care line, and we'll be able to help them and get them the services they need. But thank you for having me here, and God bless you all.
Wow, thank you so much. What a fantastic speaker. Very inspiring words, and now we know what we need to do. Thank you so much, Dr. Ekator. Next, we have Robin Nobling, who is here from NAMI of Davidson County. She is the executive director there. And so we're always happy to see you. I think you spoke with us at News Channel 5. Yes. It is a pleasure to see you again. Thank you.
Well, on your program, it says Don Liacono, who was hoping to be here to speak with you today and has some very inspiring words, but he had a crisis and he's attending and helping someone else. So just picture me a foot taller, a lot slimmer, and with curly hair. And that will be Don. So I'm here to tell you about NAMI Davidson and the ways that we inspire hope and not just inspire hope, but engage in it. And so one of the things that we are, for those of you that are not familiar with NAMI, we are the largest national peer-to-peer organization specifically made up of people with direct lived experience of mental health conditions, and at NAMI Davidson, whether they are schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, dissociative identity disorder, ADHD, OCD, or whatever else is in the alphabet, we like to call it stuff. And everybody has it. I don't care who you are, you have stuff. The difference in making, it's not they have stuff, we have stuff. The difference in the people that need the help with it have a deeper degree of it, and that degree can vary of intensity throughout your lifetime. So know that we are also made up of the family members and the loved ones of these individuals, because this is not done in a silo in the home either. Everybody's impacted by it. So what we do nationally and locally, we provide safe spaces for hard conversations. And in particular, something I'm really proud of, something that we started during the pandemic. We started doing social peer engagement groups for people with mental health conditions. And in that social peer engagement group, we realized that people were isolating during COVID. And really, we were seeing more suicide attempts, we were hearing of more suicides, and we experience suicides in our organization, unfortunately, 2 to 3 times a year because of the conditions that people are faced with. So we started these this 3 times a month, we do a social peer engagement group for people with lived experience. In that group, you'll come in, it's an hour, and what we'll do is ask you, what's your name? If you want to give it. Everything we ask for is always voluntary. What's your stuff? What brings you here? You know? What's your 2 feeling words tonight? Where are you at tonight? And so from that point, we start a conversation. Now, sometimes last February, and something that we recognize within our population, within our people, and within all of us actually, is there can really be an impact by weather. Barometric pressure, some of you may get, headaches. With our people in February, it was, you remember that February where one day it was 70 and the next day it was 30? That really makes an impact on people. Of 80% of the group that night had suicidal ideation. 80%. And so it's like, we're stopping checking right here. Let's talk about this. What are you feeling? What are you doing about it? How are you thinking about it? And so, so we had that conversation. Other nights, heck, one night it was nothing but pie. Blueberry versus pumpkin versus apple. But the night that we were talking about suicide, I want to talk to you were just mentioned from the VA that they do, suicidal ideation. We ask how you're feeling. There are people in this room right now, because you have brains, and we know with brains, a lot of people have daily thoughts of suicide. Now, those folks may not have a plan with that, but in their brain, they're being told, like Sheldon was saying in the beginning, we have what we call at NAMI Davidson, brain talk. Brain talk is, you're worthless. You should cut yourself right now. Nobody's going to miss you when you're gone. You should leave. Leave this world. You're no good to anybody. This is brain talk. Does this person really feel this about themselves? No, but they are constantly getting message from their brains. For some people, this is daily. And with those kind of feelings, it's hard to resist that. It's hard to do that day after day. That's why in our groups, we talk about it. We invite you to talk about it. Anybody can come to our groups. Our groups are online by vote of the group members. There's no qualification. other than we do like you to be, 17 and up, because some of the conversation gets very adult-like. So you can have a conversation. A lady called me up one day and said, I heard about your group. If I talk about suicide, is somebody going to show up my door and take me away? I said, are you thinking about doing it right now? Are you planning to? She said, no. I said, come. Come. It's an easy thing to do. And because it's hard on the caregivers, we are starting tomorrow night. Actually, no, it's tonight. Have to remember that because I'm the coordinator. Tonight, we are starting a caregivers cafe. Tonight, we are starting a caregivers social hour. For you, yeah. You're a loved one. You're watching this go on. You're feeling so helpful and scared. You need somebody to talk to. So tonight, it could be suicide we're talking about. The next night, it could be your favorite coffee place. We want to give you time. We don't always. One of the things we find that we think these peer groups have been so helpful is the fact that we talk about real things. And the other thing I want to let you know about is we are culturally aware. We meet people where they are in cultures. We know if we're going into the African American cultures, it's best to do it through a church. That's why we are one of the longtime members of suicide prevention in the African American Faith Coalition. Yay, it's back. We know that if you are in the API community, if you're Southeast Asian or Chinese, Japanese, Korean, or Eastern Indian, you're going to look for people with letters behind their name. You're not going to talk to a peer. You want to know who that doctor is. We get that. We understand that. Later, you'll come to us for our classes. That's happened. If you are somebody that is in the Haitian community, we've gone out to and we go out to all these communities. The Haitian community has no words in their language for bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. So the only thing that comes close to describing that behavior is demonic possession. So we've gone into that little Haitian church, and I've borrowed from my network, my national network of NAMI executors. I went to my Miami connection. They already had stuff in French for me to hand out. We meet people where they are, and we're willing to meet you. Don't be afraid to reach out. A list of our groups and the ways to contact us is on there. And don't be afraid about not having a smartphone or a computer to connect with us. You can do it with a regular phone. We try to be accessible in all that we do. Thanks for everything everybody is doing today.
Thank you, Robin. We're so lucky at News Channel 5 that we do have ongoing lunch and learns where organizations come in like NAMI. We work in a tough business, and we're human. And so a lot of times when we are going through news stories that are tough, our company brings in folks like NAMI. And so thank you, Robin. We really appreciate you and all the work that you do. So many of us, as we've heard the statistics today, may not realize that we walk past someone on the street who's been touched by suicide or thinking about it. And we have with us today someone who is a survivor of suicide loss. We have several folks in the room here today. Next to share her story is Alexis Hill.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexis Hill, and my mother took her life on July 8th of 2021. Her name is Tanya. And I just think about how, I knew I was gonna cry when I get up here. I'm gonna call her Mommy because that's all I've ever called her. So Mommy. Mommy took her life exactly 2 months before she turned 53. Her birthday was this past Friday. She took her life almost exactly 3 months before I got married. And I think about, whenever I think about the months leading up to her passing away, she came to her 3 kids. My sister's here today. My brother, he's in LA. But in February of 2021, she came to her 3 kids and said, I need help. I need help. Can you imagine a mother of 3 children who she always wanted to protect? She was always superwoman to us. She showed us nothing but love and grace in gratitude for even being her children. She came to her 3 kids saying, I need help. So the months leading up to it, we did the best that we could. Not knowing that she was suicidal at that time, having no idea. We just thought that she was, a little depressed. As Dr. Ann said, oh, you'll be fine. We're going to get through this together. It's nothing that we can't overcome. You'll be okay. We surrounded her with love every single day, trying to get her out of the situations that were causing her the deepest, darkest thoughts that she led us into. And it's wild whenever I think about even the last couple of weeks that I saw Mommy. The last time she gave me a hug was 12 days before she took her life. And when she gave me that hug, she held me tight and said, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. The last conversation I had with her on the phone was a day before she took her life, on July 7th. And our conversation was about how life can change in the blink of an eye. Anything can happen and our lives can turn upside down. The last text message we got from her was on July 8th at 6:18 in the morning. She said, thank you for loving me. I love you more than anything. Sorry I failed you. She didn't fail me. She didn't fail any of us. When I think about Mommy, the love that she gave me throughout my whole life, it hurts me the most that she thinks the moments before she took her life that she failed us. And it took me a long time to realize I didn't fail either. I did the best I could. We did the best we could in making sure she knew that she was loved. But the fact that she thought about her 3 babies right before she took her life, that's gonna live on forever. That's gonna live through me. It's gonna live through my siblings. It's gonna live through everyone else that she has touched. She didn't fail, and we didn't fail. If there's anything that I've learned during my grief journey, there's a couple of things I learned. Number 1, life is not about failures. Life is about love. And it's always gonna be that, and that's what's gonna help each other. That's what's gonna help all of us continue to take a breath every single day. Sometimes you have to think about that breath every single moment, every single second. You have to remind yourself to breathe, and that is okay. Number 2 is that it wasn't my job to save her. It wasn't. When she came to us, we instantly went on Rescue Mommy mission. It was just the 3 of us. We were afraid to tell anybody else what we were going through because we did not want her to shut us out. Our mom was very private. She wanted only us to know, and that's the best that we could do. We did not want to tell anybody because we wanted her to know she can trust us. That put a lot of pressure on us, yes. But there was nothing that we felt like we couldn't handle. At the end of the day, though, the hardest reality is to remember that it's up to them to save themselves. But what is our job to do collectively is to support them. It's to show them where you can get help. It's to remind them that their lives matter. It's to remind them that we want them here. That is the only thing that we can do. We can throw out the life jacket and we just hope and pray that they're gonna start kicking towards it. That's all we can do. So thank you all for being here. Some of these resources here right now are the reason I'm standing right here. They have helped me and my family through our grief journey. Months and months of support group, months and months of therapy. And now we are turning our pain into passion. Because it is not okay for the next person to be up here sharing their story. That is still one too many, as you all mentioned. And it breaks my heart to realize that the 3 people per day in Tennessee, that was one of my mom. My mom was one of those people. So thank you again for being here. It is not, I can't explain enough how much it warms my heart to know that all of you came out here because you want to provide hope. You want to be hope. And some people need hope in here. And know that that is okay as well. There are so many resources right here in this room that is ready to shower you with the support. That, shoot, I still need the support myself. That's okay too. That's okay too. So the work that we do, know that I'm not just up here for my mom. I may be up here because of someone else's loved one. You guys are here because of all of us together, collectively. It doesn't have to just be one person. I'm not representing just one survivor. And that's another thing. I don't want to just be a survivor. I want to thrive through this. It is my job to thrive through it. And the way I'm doing that is turning my pain into passion. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to my story, and hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
Praise God. Praise God. So proud of you.
Alexis, thank you so much for sharing your story. I have known Alexis for a little while. I've known her dad longer, but never knew what she was going through until last year. And it just goes to show you just never know what people are going through. What a brave, brave person she is. And I know your dad, Kevin, is so proud of you. Kevin, that's your mini-me, you know. She looks just like you. Gosh, Alexis, thank you so much for sharing your heartwarming and touching story. You have so many people who love you and care about you. We are honored to have another person, a brave person, to share their story as well. Lillian Maddox Whitehead, and she has been in public health for 17 years, and she currently serves as the director of the Division of Prevention and Wellness at the Metropolitan Public Health Department of Nashville, Davidson County. But she is also a survivor of suicide loss. So Lillian, if you would, please share a few words with us and tell us your story.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That's my son, Philip. I am the semicolon to his life, of his memory. Whew. So, on February 12, 2022, something that I could never imagine showed up at my door, knocking on the door, and it was two women, two beautiful women from the Metro Police Department. They were chaplains, and they came to let me know that my son Philip had died. And at first, they couldn't give me a lot of information. They had to wait for the detective to be in touch with me and to let me know that he had died by suicide. Wow, it is an unspeakable pain. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I say, "You got this, Lily. You're gonna be okay." It is hard. It's really, really hard. Because he was such a sweet boy. He was a sweet boy. But before his death, he did so many things to make us angry. And I feel like that he did those things because he wanted us to disconnect from him, that when he decided to take his life, that it wouldn't hurt us so much. But he had no idea it hurts so much. It really does. And I'm so grateful for all of the services that are out there. There were so many services when Philip was having attempts because the completion was not the first time. I thought about it the other day. There was about 7 times. 7 times. And I miss him. I miss him so much. But the services, my family and I are so grateful for. We are so, so grateful for. When he was going through his journey, there was, every time I called an agency, they were right there for us. And even in his death, they were right there for us, and they continue to still be there for us. I want to say this, that losing a child to suicide is incredibly painful, and it's a difficult experience. And it's heartwarming that the suicide prevention and the African American faith Church Coalition has chosen to honor my son Philip's memory with this annual award. Your dedication to remembering Philip has brought solace to my grieving heart, and knowing that his memory lives through your efforts. Your empathy and compassion through this tribute. It is a testament to your dedication to promoting mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, sis.
So now I think we're going to present the Philip Whitehead Award. Are you going to do that, Sheldon? Is that going to be Gwen Hammer?
We're gonna go to Gwen and I'm gonna
Okay.
say something. You can go to me. So,
This is a tough, tough day. Hearing these stories is tough, but that lets us know that this is an important, important event. And it's good that we're here, and everything we're hearing is important to hear, and it's important to be here to support those people like Alexis and like, yeah, I'm sorry, Lillian. Hearing these stories is really tough, and I'm a journalist, and I hear this all the time, but I'm still a human. And if you care about people, you care about their hearts and how they're feeling. So we're so honored to be able to now, I think we're going to present this award in honor of Philip.
so Ms. Gwen. After you call his name over, say. Pastor Howard, you want to step up?
And while he's coming, good morning, everyone. We have heard some powerful testimonies and some great information for you to take back and provide in the community. And Sheldon, this is your day. I just wanted to say that it's been a joy working with him as co-chair of the Suicide Prevention Coalition in the African American faith communities. He has taken us to another level, and we really enjoy working with him, and his mind never stops, and he never stops. So my chore today, I wanted you to come up here, and I wanted you to feel what we're saying. So I didn't want you to just be sitting in the seat, and I'm talking about you. But let me preface this, Daryl. I have heard about you for many years as we've worked with the Suicide Prevention Coalition. You work with Yolanda Hockett, and she always talked about what you were doing in the community. And whenever we were having something, she always said, we need to invite Daryl. But I got to meet you only in Parkwood. And that was last year, last year at the ball games. So you have impacted my life throughout Yolanda's time with the coalition. She's still a member, she just doesn't get to come. Okay, we're gonna read this. So meet Pastor Howard. This is Pastor Daryl Howard. And he's a longtime Nashvilleian and is a powerhouse in the community. For over 19 years since his release, he's been in the trenches, offering support to those impacted by trauma, poverty, and incarceration. Through his church and nonprofit personal interest in changing character, he's been a catalyst for transformation. From providing essential supplies year-round to organizing mental health fairs and mentoring at-risk youth, Pastor Howard covered it all. He's always emphasized the power of the ripple effect that comes from making a difference in the life of single individuals. But let me just add to that, individuals, not just single individuals. His impact is immeasurable, leaving an enduring legacy in our community. Pastor Howard has organized over 100 events in the community. From back-to-school affairs, to clothing drives, to vaccine distribution, to mental health, basketball tournaments, and so much more. It is with great pleasure that I have the distinct honor to present the second annual Philip Whitehead Award to Pastor Darrell Howard. And so I'm presenting this to you, Darrell, for all the work you've done in the community, for your name going forth and people hearing about you before we actually get to touch you. So congratulations.
I appreciate it.
And we look forward to working with you throughout the time that we are here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for what you do.
Let you say a few words. I'm gonna share a few words. Yeah. I really want to thank Pastor Howard, man, really for the work that he's done. I call myself a self-proclaimed community guru, but he truly is, and this is how I know he is. We go to several events, and he is constantly always inviting me to events, and it's just so awesome to see where he used to be and see where he is now. That's why we cannot give up on anybody.
That's right.
We cannot. He has had events at Hadley Park. Thousands of people come. But I remember this one time we were off of, I like to give food spots because that's what I remember. Yeah. Ed's Fish, the church over there, wherever that was. It was 5 people there. We were in a tent. And it started to pour down raining. I'm talking about like a monsoon. 3 people got up and left, and it was just me and him. And I'm like, come on, Pastor, let's go. He said, no, we got a fair. I said, man, do you see the rain out here? I said, let's get out of here. He said, no, we got a community fair. And he stayed. And this is how I really know I love Pastor Darrell. He had, and he was smart. How do I get black young men to show up? I'm going to give them something that they like. But then I'm going to have you come by there and talk to them. So he had a men's basketball league in South Inglewood Community Center. Now, everybody really know me knows that Wednesday, don't call me from 7 to 10. It's Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and Chicago PD in that order. In that order. He has basketball games on Wednesdays. All right, Pastor, I love you, but man, that's my day. So I started to come. But what he would do, he would get the guys there through basketball. But then he would bring me in, and we would get real. We would talk about mental health. We would talk about what are y'all dealing with? How can we help you? And you're talking about sparking a ride. We might not have got it that day, but what it did is it built a conversation for further days. So I look up to you. I love you, brother. I see the work that you do. I tell them all the time, I said, man, you don't get paid what you work, because when I tell you really grinding, this is the definition of grinding right here.
Yes.
And he is everywhere. Yes. I guarantee you, if I pull my calendar open right now, I got about 4 events with his name on it. So, man, I thank you so much, and you are more well-deserving of this award, man. So I appreciate you so much. You want to say a few words?
Let me first say this, nothing that we do alone. It's what we do together that we cannot do apart from one another. In the basketball league, he's talking about this, the Ryan Westbrook Memorial Basketball League. I do that with myself, with his father, Pastor Orlando Westbrooks, Pastor Samuel Orr, and we do this with Derek Starks. The thing that y'all was speaking about today was hope. I understand hope is the belief that our future will be better than our present day. The Bible tells us that we should rejoice in hope, be patient in our tribulations, and constant in our prayer.
but it's not based on what the world sees. It's based on the hope that God pours into us through the Holy Spirit. But we know also that requires some effort on our part. And a lot of times, we're not available to people. Available has to do with not your schedule, but you showing up when you have to be there. When nobody else is around, when nobody else is talking about it, and it's just you and them. And always you can't make no phone calls, so sometimes you gotta walk them to the place where they gotta be. So I just wanna thank you. Thank you to all the speakers. Special thanks to the Whitehead family and those survivors who spoke about their families. God bless you all. Thank you. Put it in the box and take that and all that. Grab this with me. All right.
He said he wanted the box.
Congratulations, Pastor Howard, and thank you for the great work that you're doing. So we've heard a lot today about hope and help and things of that nature, and we've heard from folks who are suicide survivors or survivors of suicide loss. Well, now it's time to hear from someone who can speak firsthand about attempting suicide and becoming a suicide survivor. So I'd like us to now welcome to the podium Carol Burton.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Carol Burton. A lot of you are probably surprised to see me come up here as someone who has attempted suicide in the past. I'm here to share with you all that I've been delivered from addiction and depression with suicidal ideations. When my mother found out she was pregnant with me, she and my father were in the middle of a bitter divorce. So when a wife is pregnant, the judge won't allow a divorce to go through. So they stayed together just because my mother was pregnant with me. So both of them, I believe, had some resentment towards me. They stayed together an additional 4 years. And I came out looking exactly like my father. My mother could not stand my father. She still, to this day, cannot stand him. So when she looked at me, she felt resentment and contention. So by the time I was in high school, I wasn't allowed to eat with her at the table and my sister. She made me eat in my room. I'm sorry.
Take your time, take your time.
And I had to sit on the floor to eat. For some reason, she didn't want me elevated. I had to eat on the floor.
Just breathe, just breathe. It's all right. You're good. It's all right.
I was ugly. I was stupid. Nothing I did was right. So my first suicide attempt, I was 13 years old. I just wanted to get away from her and the abuse. I went in her medicine cabinet and I took all her pills. She had all kinds of sleeping pills and pain medications, and I took all of them. It was about 6 bottles of pills. I took every one of them. And my sister found me. I was almost successful with the suicide attempt. My sister found me at the last minute. She tried to call 911. My mother wouldn't let her. So she had to run to the neighbor's house and use their phone to call. Mama said, If she wants to die, just let her die. So I made it a point to go ahead and graduate from high school so I could get away from her. So at age 16, I graduated from high school. And I moved here to Nashville. My mother's in San Antonio. I moved here to Nashville with my dad and registered at Tennessee State University. And when I thought my life was, going well and everything was good, after my sophomore year at Tennessee State, someone broke into my father's house that summer, and I was sexually assaulted with a butcher knife. And I was deformed. In my private area. He thought I was my sister. It was a case of mistaken identity. So the whole thing was really senseless. I felt like I shouldn't have had to go through that. The detective on my case assigned the attack as a brutal sexual assault and attempted murder. I was bound and left to bleed out. At that juncture, I started drinking heavily. I was drinking every day. And I did graduate from college. I got my BBA in economics and finance.
All right now.
I decided to go to graduate school after that. And I got my MBA in acquisitions management.
Wow. Come on now, come on.
1992. Now, my parents didn't want me talking about the assault. They wanted to keep it a secret. It was something to be ashamed of. So I went and I prosecuted this. The person that attacked me was prosecuted and he was put in prison. And I did that on my own. I didn't have anybody to support me through that. But after I got my master's degree, I found out this guy had been released from prison and they did not contact me. They were supposed to contact me and let me know when he was released. I wasn't contacted. And I started suffering from PTSD. I started seeing his face in crowds, even though, he couldn't have been there, but I was seeing him, just, seeing his face. So I started using cocaine after I got out of graduate school. And within a year, I got addicted to crack cocaine. And within a year, I was in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice prison system. My first sentence was 3 years. I served that time. When I got out, I spent 5 years clean. And like you were saying, addiction has a lot to do, and mental health issues have a lot to do with suicide. I overdosed several times between the years 1998 and 2010. I tried to kill myself. One time I OD'd. I went and parked my car in a rock quarry away from traffic. Nobody could see my car there. I was behind some hills of rocks. I took a hose and put it from my exhaust pipe through the window of the car, and I took 4 bottles of sleeping pills. That should have done me off. If the pills didn't kill me, the carbon monoxide should have. I woke up 2 days later. The car was out of gas. I had to get the gas can and walk out of that rock quarry to a gas station to put some gas in the car to get the car out of there.
Wasn't your time?
No. There have been several severe suicide attempts. One time I OD'd and I got in the car. I'm really ashamed to tell y'all this, but I got in my car because I said when the pills take effect, then I would maybe run off of the highway and crash. The car would burn up. And a police officer pulled up beside me right when I passed out. And he said that it was like the hand of God took the car and exited me off the highway. I was passed out. And he said that the car went up over a curb and then it just tapped into an 18-wheeler that just happened to be parked there off of the highway. And he made sure that I was still alive. And I had drugs in the car. I had drugs in my pockets. I had some dungarees on. And he found the drugs, and he got my cell phone. He called my mother and told my mother to come get the drugs out of the car because he felt like he was a Christian. And he felt like he did not want to arrest me for drug possession. He wanted me to get some help. And he felt like it was his position to make sure that nothing more happened to me than just going to the hospital and getting some help. Okay. I was told that I was barren after the sexual assault. I had complications afterwards, as you all can imagine. But despite that, in 2001, I became pregnant. And I have a son, his name is Matthias, he's 22 years old. He'll be graduating from University of Memphis in December with his BBA in supply chain management. And I became pregnant again a couple of years later and gave birth to my daughter, Eden. She's getting her bachelor's degree in public health, and she's graduating in May 2024. And the last time I got arrested, it was March 25th, 2011. That was the last day I used drugs. That was the last time I thought about suicide. I was charged with several misdemeanor offenses at that time, and Judge Cheryl Blackburn gave me 2 years incarceration. And while I was in jail, I went through a program called Healing Journeys drug program. Changed my life. And while I was in that program, I read a book called The Shack by William Paul Young. And I brought some copies of that book here in case anybody wants to take one home. Just take it, because that book changed my whole way of processing trauma, depression. After I went through the Healing Journeys program, I filed a motion to suspend my sentence. Cheryl Blackburn brought me back to court, and she let me go home that day. It was 6 months into my sentence. I got out of jail and went to the Next Door program. When I was leaving jail, this is the thing, when you're in jail, when you're leaving, everybody asks you, what are you going to eat first? What's the first thing you're going to eat? I said I wanted some fried chicken. I wanted some pizza, salad with onion, and a cold Dr. Pepper. So when I got to the Next Door, it was the weekend, and they didn't provide lunch service on the weekend. So one of the other residents said, I fried some chicken, and I fried too much. I need somebody to share it with. So she said, will you come in here and eat some chicken with me? So I started crying. I was like, oh, that's what I wanted, but I couldn't verbalize that to her. So I sat down at the table. She said, wait a minute, let me go get you something to drink. She went to her room and brought me back a cold Dr. Pepper. So that evening, we had a Methodist church that came to the Next Door, and they provided meal service for us. And it was homemade pizza. And there was salad. And so the guy said, I brought an onion. He said, usually people don't like onion in the salad, but I brought an onion. And if anybody needs me to chop it up, I'll chop it up and put it on your salad. So I'm just crying. God has spoken to me and revealed himself to me through fried chicken, pizza, Dr. Pepper, and a salad with onion within 24 hours of my release from jail. So after that, I went to the probation office. I had to do community service. I wanted to pick the place that I would do my community service and try to do it at my church, Mount Airy Baptist Church. But they told me I had to go to the Rock United Church. So I was on custodial duty, and I had to go and clean up at this church on Friday nights. So everywhere we went from the Next Door, we had to ride the bus. We weren't allowed to go in car rides, because that could lead to, us getting in trouble. So I had to ride the bus over to the Rock United, and that's when it used to be over off of Buchanan Street. I used to buy drugs at a house over there on the same street that this church was on. So I was scared. I didn't want to be triggered and try to, go and buy some drugs while I was out doing my community service. So the closer I got to this church, the closer I got to the drug house where I used to buy drugs. I was nervous. I started praying. I was singing gospel, had my headphones on, and I got to the church. And I looked over at the house where I used to buy drugs, and it had caught fire and burned down. It was gutted out. There was no more drug house there. So the pastor at the Rock United, Pastor Samuel Orr, he's here today. I see you back there, Pastor Orr. He had Bible study on Friday nights. That just so happened to be the night that I did custodial duty. So he started inviting me to the Bible studies. He would make sure that I got there on time so that I would get the church clean and then be able to participate in Bible study. Pastor Orr has been a mentor to me. I can call him anytime I need him, even to this day. My probation only lasted about 3 or 4 months. I can call Pastor Orr. He's on my speed dial. If I have any situation, he'll come and take care of me. He came to my house. He prayed over my house. He prayed over my children when they were small. He even prayed over the dog. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge Pastor Orr. He just tragically lost his son 3 days ago, and he still took the time to come out here today to support me. And I wanted to say thank you, Pastor Orr. That's just the type of person he is. And I just want to make sure that you all know that God is alive.
Yes.
God's grace and mercy has saved my life. And I'm here to tell you that hope is available. Thank you.
Yes. My goodness. Carol, I don't even know what to say. Yes, thank you so much for sharing your story. You are a true testament of the power of God, and he worked all through your life in so many ways. So thank you. We're going to hear another powerful speaker. Clark Flatt. He is the president and the founding member of the Jason Foundation, Incorporated. He graduated from Tennessee Tech with a BS in Business Administration and a Master's of Divinity from Vanderbilt. He's a nationally recognized speaker on youth suicide awareness and prevention. He has over 20 years of experience in the field of suicide prevention. And we're honored to hear him share his story. He can tell it best, but the Jason Foundation was started in October of 1997 after the tragic death of Clark's youngest son, 16-year-old Jason, to the silent epidemic of youth suicide. And so we're just honored and I'm just overwhelmed to meet you. I've seen you in news stories and heard so much about you, and just I'm honored to have you here today.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I begin by telling those who know me, you're in fear right now. You think we have to be out of here at 11:30, and I speak for an hour to hour and a half easily. Shelton invited me, and thank you for inviting me. He said, you want to do the keynote? I said, sure. I'm thinking, okay, what is it doing this? Then he said, it's 15 minutes. And people at my office was laughing at me, Gwen. They were laughing and said, they wanted to know. They wanted this recorded to see how I could do this. A lot of prayer involved in getting us down to this. But I thought I would do it something different than just going through slides. Since it was a shorter time, really talk to you more from the heart, what's going on, what's happening, what we see happening, and how we might can affect that. To do this, I want to take you back to July the 16th, 1997. It was a beautiful summer day in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Beautiful. I started the day by getting out and shooting a few hoops with my son, Jason. We always try to play a game of horse before I left for work. I won 90 to 95% of the time, not because I'm a good basketball player. I cheated quite a bit. I had gone to work, and as we say, the long story short, I came home that day to find that Jason had stood in front of his bed. He had written 2 notes, put them down in front of himself, and went and got a .38 revolver that I had locked up until he was 14 years old. Stood in front of his bed, thinking he would fall straight back, and he put the .38 caliber against the right side of his head, and he pulled the trigger. The exit of the dum-dum .38 coming out of the left side of his head was so great, it had spun him completely around, and he had fallen across the threshold of his bedroom door. When I came in looking for him and called him his name and he didn't answer, I saw his light on, and I said, that's where he's at. He's listening to his music. That's why he's not hearing me. And so as I went into his room, I was going at a pretty good clip. I wanted to surprise him there, laying and listening to his music. And I actually fell on top of my son's body as I turned to go into that door. Regretfully, one of the toughest things I do as president of the Jason Foundation is usually between 2 and 3 sets of parents a week that I get a phone call that they've experienced the same thing, that they too have found their son or daughter after a tragic suicide. I remember, even though it was 26 years ago in July, I remember it as clear as, for those of us that's older, remember Polaroid, as a Polaroid shot. I remember getting down on my knees and putting his head in my lap and just wondering, how could this happen to Jason? You know, he was your solid BC student. He wasn't your straight A, like his good old dad. Even though I went to Vanderbilt, I was a solid BC student. He was really good in athletics, a lot of friends, no drug or alcohol problems. How could this happen to him? I have to say, if it wasn't for family and friends, I'm not sure I would be here tonight or today. You know about that. I'm not sure I would be here. That's the most tragic thing that can happen to a family, not just a parent, but a family, to lose a son or daughter in any way. Don't matter how it is. It is a tremendous tragedy. But to come in and find that your son was there, had taken your .38 caliber and shot himself, it was almost too much. Luckily, I had a lot of friends that was calling me and talking to me. I had one particular friend, and this comes in really with what you're doing here today. He was the bishop of the United Methodist Church. Now, I don't know how many of you are United Methodists, but the bishop of the United Methodist Church, when he comes into a room like this, he doesn't walk, he glides in, you know. He's at that elevated there. But I knew him really well, He would call me and would try to minister to me. He would say all those religious things. And I'm here to tell you that I did not want to hear those religious things at that time. I did not want to hear about that. He didn't pick his son up in his head in his lap. He didn't know what that was. But yet he came at me time and time again on the phone about how to turn to my faith, that this was going to get us through. Something great was going to happen out of this. And I was tired of hearing it. I was raised in Bordeaux. Anybody know where Bordeaux is? Yeah. I was raised in Bordeaux. I knew how to cuss that would make a sailor pink. I'm not condemning Bordeaux. It was me. All right. It was me. But we were used to that. I told my wife after one phone call from Bishop, I said, when he calls again, I'm going to wear his ear off. He's going to hear words he hadn't heard in a long, long time. I'm tired of this. I'm going to let him know how I feel. 3 days later, biblically 3 days later, my wife said, there's a phone call for you. It's Bishop, and I won't use his last name. Bishop. And I said, good. I'm ready. I got on that phone ready to rip him. I listened to all that again. And just as I started to rip, he said, Clark, would you like to talk to another father who lost his son tragically? And he made something great out of it. Got my attention. I said, Bishop, you don't know how much that would help me to talk to another dad who knows what I'm going through, especially if he was able to do something from it. I said, can I have his phone number? He said, no, you can't have his phone number, but I'll tell you how to get in touch with him. We get off the phone, go back to your bedroom, get on your knees, and talk to the father. He lost his son very tragically, and he's turned something into it. Now, I'm certainly not God, and the bishop knew that, and Jason wasn't Jesus. But he got me thinking, was there something that could come from this terrible tragedy that up to that point I didn't see how anything could come from that? So I went back to my office. I had an old Radio Shack computer. Don't laugh, it was top of the line at that time. Top of the line. It was. I got on the most advanced internet service that was available. AOL. Dial-up. I typed in youth suicide. First thing that came up on that black screen with those green dots was youth suicide from the CDC was the third leading cause of death for young people ages 15 to 19. When that hit me, that's when the Jason Foundation started. You see, as a parent, like many of you here today, I had gone to every PTA, every PTO, every church meeting, every community meeting, anything that I could learn to protect my two boys, to give them the best life that they could give. I went to drugs and alcohol. I went to a bullying class. I went to one great drug and alcohol. I've got to tell you this. It was a wonderful thing. A sheriff, a local sheriff. I won't go what county, but local. We went to the school to see a drug thing, and that's back when they used to have those cabinets, and they opened it up, and they brought all the pills out, and they showed you the pills. So if you saw them in your son or daughter's pocket, you'd say, oh, there's a problem. I need to get some help. So this sheriff was doing his thing. He pulled out the drugs. He put them on the table. He was explaining them to us, and he got to the part. Now, this was, and please take this right, this was a time when marijuana was really coming on the scenes. So he brought the marijuana out, and he looked at us and the parents, and he said, how many of you out there know what marijuana smells like? Nobody was going to raise their hand. It was illegal. Fool? No, yeah, I know. He's a sheriff. He had a gun. Nobody raised their hand. He took that as a personal challenge. He took one of those tin aluminum ashtrays. He put some marijuana in it. He lit it and fanned it so it would start smoking. He put it on a table, and he asked us as parents to walk around the table and smell it. So if our kids came in with that smell, we would know it was marijuana. So we all got up and started circling that table. And circling the table. And after a few circles, he caught on to us. Stopped the whole thing. The things we as parents go through. But you see, in Jason's 16 years old, nobody had ever offered a seminar or a program. Not that I didn't go. They had never offered a program or seminar to learn about the warning signs, the impact of youth suicide, let alone what to do if you should see a son or daughter that you were concerned about them possibly attempting suicide. So we started the Jason Foundation on October the 1st, 1997, simply with a bunch of friends and people that got together. We met in the back of an insurance office at a kitchen table. We still have that kitchen table at our corporate office. And we would sit there and plan and bring in some clinical people to do a program for parents, not to scare them, but yet to educate them about this impact of youth suicide in America, in our community, and what we could do about it. And today, I'm proud to say the Jason Foundation, we've been blessed. The good Lord continues to put right people in front of us. We've gone from that kitchen table to now we're considered a national leader in youth and young adult suicide. We provide more teacher and professional development than anybody in the nation, nonprofit in the nation. We train close to 200,000 teachers a year. I'm proud of the work we're doing in Tennessee. The Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services and Department of Health, Department of Education, all working together to make us as safe as we can here. But let's talk. We're not here to talk about the Jason Foundation or my annex around a table. But let's talk about why I am here. When I looked at that Radio Shack computer, suicide was the third leading cause of death, as the CDC kept at that time 15 to 19. Now we have a lot more breakdowns, and that's good. When we look here in Tennessee, when we look at that 12 to 18-year-old group, basically your middle and high school groups, we're a little better than the national norm. It's the third leading cause of death for our teenagers, both in middle and high school in America, here in Tennessee. Now, nationally, it's the second leading cause of death. So we're doing better than a national, but we can't get excited about third. Not when number 2 is homicide, and number 1 is unintentional injuries, not just car accidents. Number 1 is the same for all age groups, unintentional injuries. I have been bothering the CDC for almost 25 years. Why do you have number 1 a group and everything else are single items? And I still have not received a good answer on that. But when that group unintentional, you know what's in unintentional injuries? Car accidents, drug overdoses. Just those 2 alone drive the numbers tremendously high. But when you look at suicide as a third, think of how many people in Tennessee today know when they have a son or daughter, grandson or granddaughter, 12 to 18, or the teachers or the pastors that are out there ministering to these young people. The third most likely thing to take their life in our state of Tennessee today is suicide. But how much do we know about it? How do we know how to recognize the warning signs? Let me share with you one that really concerns me as a person that works in the area of suicide awareness and prevention. Here in Tennessee, when we look at the age group 10 to 14, now this is what I call the Scooby-Doo group. I mean, 10 to 14, that is so young to think about it. I can remember when 10 to 14 wasn't even statistically reportable by the CDC. Didn't even come up as a number. It wasn't high enough to even glimmer a report. Then we saw it show up at 8. We show it at 7, at 6. Here in Tennessee, not California, not New York, Tennessee, the second most likely thing to take your son, your daughter, your grandson, and granddaughter's life, 10 to 14 years old, is suicide. Suicide. And it's been that way for the last 2 reporting times. This is something that really concerns me. Not that we're not concerned about all of them. I can tell you after 26 years experience, when 10 to 14 is high, you're going to see an increase in 12 to 18. You're going to see an increase in the 10 to 24, the 10 to 34, and on and on and on. 10 to 14 is your group. And we in Tennessee have a tremendous challenge to minister to all youth, but especially we have to start looking at that 10 to 14-year-old group. I do want to share with you 4 questions that when the Jason Foundation goes out, and I'm watching my time because I get excited and get up here. When we open an office, we have 184 offices across the country. When we open an office, we research that area. We want to know what's going on. We want to know the impact. We want to know the stats for that particular area. You know, people that living in Rockshaw, Arkansas, really don't care what a national number is. You know, they want to know what's happening to them. So we do some research. If you don't know about this particular study, if you don't get anything else from me, you take this back with you if you work with youth. It's called the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey. It's done by the CDC. It has stuff about all things about a young person's life. Not just suicide. It has about drinking, drugs, alcohol, school violence, carrying weapons on the school grounds, fights, bullying. You think about it, it has a study there. And it'll show your study as your state compared to what the national is. Very useful study. It does have 4 questions about suicide. And we use this because even though we're a pretty good sized organization, we have limited resources. We want to know where should we target our resources? Where can we make the most difference? These 4 questions help us decide that. And I want to share those very briefly with you today. The first question, and these are for our Tennessee kids. We're not talking nationally. Have you felt sad or hopeless every day in a row for a period of greater than 2 weeks so it affected your usual activity? That's a question not only for depression, but a question for what could be considered the beginning of clinical depression. The thing that you just can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Get tough. Go out there, son. Face the life. A lot of times you need help on that, whether it's counseling or medication. You need help with that. In grades 9 through 12 in Tennessee, 42.2, and this is 2021, 42.2% of our kids said they had felt that way, not in their lifetime, but in the past 12 months. In the past 12 months. Now, this is remember, all of these are just in the beginning of what we're seeing, the results of the pandemic. I'll say something about that in a minute, too. 42%, almost 1 out of every 2, got to the point, and we all know no matter what age group you are, depression, especially clinical depression, is one of the leading causes of suicide attempts and suicides in the nation. 42%. Second question, have you seriously considered suicide in the past 12 months? 22.8% of our kids, almost 1 out of every 4, when asked that question, said, yes, I've seriously thought about it. I've seriously thought about taking my life. Well, you might say, well, Clark, a lot of times 14, 15, 16, 17 years. So they don't understand what serious is about it. You know, it's serious to them, but we know it's not. It's going to pass. First of all, I'll let you know, if it's serious to them, it better be serious to us. No matter how much wisdom we have, if it's serious to them, we better be serious to us. Almost 1 out of 4 got to that point. But when we look at that question, sure, that's easy. Was it seriously thought? That's why they had their wisdom to have the fourth question. The fourth question is, have you made a plan to attempt suicide or a plan for suicide in the past 12 months? In Tennessee, 18.2% of our kids, over 1 out of every 6, got to the point in the previous 12 months of this survey in 2021 where they actually planned the how and the when and the where. When you go from thinking about it to planning the how, when, and where, you've gone from a time of concern to a time of crisis. Because I can guarantee you, if something doesn't interrupt that thought process when it gets to where they're making the plan, a suicide attempt is almost certain to happen. Almost certain. Yet 1 out of every 6 of our kids in the past 12 months got to that point. Got to that point. Of course, the last question for our Tennessee kids is, have you attempted suicide 1 or more times? This is one that's astronomical. It wasn't that many years. It was 4 and 5% less than this. 13.4% of our kids, over 1 out of every 8, said that in the previous 12 months they had attempted suicide 1 or more times. We have not only a national problem, but we have a problem here in Tennessee. We have a problem in Nashville, Knoxville, Memphis, Dyersburg. In every little place, whether it's rural or urban, we have a problem. We have a problem. But it is a problem we can do something about. It is. There's one stat that I hold on very clearly. It's a stat that 4 out of 5, it's done by Mental Health America and one other group. 4 out of 5 young people are people. 4 out of 5 who will attempt suicide will demonstrate clear warning signs, either verbally or behaviorally or both ways. You know, that means 80% of the time. 80% of the time. We're losing 137 people on an average per week in the United States, young people, to suicide. That means 90 of them shouldn't have died. 90 of them demonstrated behavioral, verbally, or both ways to their friends, to their parents, to their pastors, to their teachers. 90 out of that 137 demonstrated those. We either missed the warning signs, misaddressed it, or we just didn't pay any attention to it. Didn't pay attention. We have a chance if we learn about the warning signs. And all importantly, don't be a counselor yourself. You learn about the warning signs and then know how to react. Where are those resources? Where are those resources in my community that I can turn to that will direct me to that help I need? One out of every that we talked about here, 1 out of every 4 that will be thinking about it. And here we have a chance at 80% of the time stopping that. It's a great opportunity. I would go into that, but we don't have that time today to go into the warning signs and things. I would say, and this is a shameless ploy to our website, but Jason Foundation, as well as NAMI is here. They got a great website. TSPN, tremendous website. Got to meet the people from FIT over here. They were great. Fantastic what they're doing. You got a lot of great resources. You need to search out. You need to go out there and find. You don't want to try to find those resources when the crisis is there. You don't want to do that. One thing I will ask you, we have our table back there. This is probably one of the best things we've ever done at the Jason Foundation. And it's been years ago. One of the best things. It's called A Friend Ask. We first put it together for young people, but we now have more adults download it than young people. On this one, you can put it on your Android or your Apple phone. It has no cost. None of our programs cost anything. You look on it, if we can do something for you and we agree to do it, it is at no cost. This is a great tool because you're not going to remember, if I went over all the warning signs, you're not going to remember them 6 months from now. On this app, you can bring it up, hit it. It has the warning signs. It has the do's and don'ts. If you're talking to someone who might be suicidal, what should you do? What shouldn't you do? There's some of those things too. It has resources, elevated risk factors. It talks about the warning signs, all at your hip on your phone at any time. If you're concerned about somebody, you can bring it up and find it. But probably the best thing is that little Get Help Now button on the middle of it. That connects, it used to be a long number, wasn't it, Mary Linda? It used to be a long number, the 1-800 number, now 988. But still, not everybody. It's amazing how many people don't know about 988 in the nation. If you hit the Get Help Now button, it will connect you to the closest certified crisis intervention center in America, wherever you're traveling. And listen, this is the important part. It's not just there because I am having a crisis. I'm the one at risk, even though it's there for that person. It's also there for that person who says, I'm with somebody I'm concerned with. I'm with somebody I believe is a risk, and I need help. I don't know where to turn. I don't know where I can get help. They will help you and direct you to get that help you need too. Suicide, as we've seen, is a terrible thing. It's something, and I end with this, that I wish I could give you a good report that we're winning. But because, and I hate the pandemic and everybody blaming it for everything, but the impact that we have seen on mental health from the pandemic, not during the lockdown, not during that time of social, but as we've come back, we're seeing the rates of mental health crises higher than I've ever seen in my 26 years. We work with some of the leading health providers in mental health care in the nation, and the beds are not there. The access is not there. We're outstripping it, and don't think that we're crested. The people we talk to that I believe are experts in the area are saying we won't crest. That doesn't mean go down. We won't crest from the pandemic's impact for another 2 to 3 years. It's hitting us. We're seeing the young adults, and it's going to keep going and going. But we can do something about it. All the people that hear these, some fine organizations with great, it's too big for any one organization. Working together, working with the faith community. I was proud to hear the pastors. The faith community, I want you to know, is where I believe the real answer can be for America right now. One person that I end with this said, where does somebody get when they are at that point of suicide? It's a very simple, you could go through a lot of clinical descriptions and everything, but it boils down to one word. They get to the point of hopelessness. Hopelessness. They see no hope. They see no way out. They see no answer. Our job is to make sure that no one gets to that point without us being there and saying, hope is available. Hope is available. And I might not have the answer, but I'm going to help you find that answer. God bless you. Thank you for letting me come and speak. Keep up the great work. Shelton, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Clark, thank you so much. Do I need to turn it over to you now, Ann? Did you want to say some final words as we get ready to adjourn?
Yes. First of all, let's just put your hands together and give a round of applause to our gracious MC. We thank you so much, Lady Tawanda, for coming by, stopping by, and helping us to make this event successful. Let me just say a lot of things were shared today, and if anybody in the room is triggered by some of the information that you've heard, if this is hitting you in a place that you need someone to talk to, Nichelle and I are available to do that brief solution focus and then turn you to some resources. This is tough information. This is hard information. It is difficult to synthesize. It's difficult to make peace with. I want to thank the brave ladies for sharing their stories. It was heart-wrenching. It is captivating. And I hope it has empowered someone to look a little closer, to look a little deeper, to pay more attention to what's going on around you. Remember that we are not responsible for what an individuals do, but we can be accountable to making sure that they are connected with some resources and some services so that hope can continue to be available. On behalf of our director, Dr. Gil Wright, our deputy director, Dr. Melva Black, and our bureau director, Dr. Fanda Harris, I want to thank you so much for being here this morning, for listening, for receiving the information. Sheldon and team, well done, for job well done for SPAC. We appreciate everything you do. Continue doing what you do. Each one will reach one. Together. We're going to make a difference, not because it is just a political thing to do, but it's the personal and the human thing to do. I thank you for being here. We've prepared a lunch for you. Do stay by and enjoy lunch with us. We do not want to take this food anywhere. We want you to enjoy it. So my staff will show you where the Charlotte room is. And I'm going to ask one of our pastors. You know, they say at my church, as an elder, let's do the blessing before we leave the room, right? So we can just do the eating. So if one of our, somebody don't want to pray, okay, bow your heads with me. Like I said, you know, Father in heaven, we thank you for visiting with us today. We felt your presence in the story. We felt your redemptive power in the room. More than anything, we felt your grace and mercy that's carried a lot of us through all of this. Thank you for the speakers, the presenters, the empower us to go serve. Now bless our meal as we're about to eat. May it do good to our bodies for Christ's sake. Amen. Thank you for being here.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.